on board to this event, international event hosted by ABIGS, celebrating the International Day of Education and also celebrating the preparatory stage for the upcoming stage after the Transforming Education Summit, and also post, of course, with the Steering Committee of Education, and also after the commitments of the countries in the Transforming Education Summit. And big thanks go to all the participants, all the organization, regional organization, the global organization celebrating with us from UNESCO, United Nations, UNICEF, and all the organizations coming from the region, ISISCO, ALISCO, and the the Islamic Bank, Dubai Care, and King Salman organization, and the International Education Bureau, and other big organizations, also the regional UNESCO Regional Center for Excellence and Quality, ABIGS as well, King Salman Relief Center, and equally important also ministries of education across the different countries, in United Arab Emirates, in Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, in Qatar, in Oman. We did our best, of course, to attract and invite as many as possible so that we can invite so many participants, stakeholders, global, regional, local organization, donors, executive organization entities. With this in mind, of course, we do our best in order to answer the questions posed always. What is it that comes after or post 2020 or 2022, and also what about the commitments of countries and plans that have made by the organizations, and how to put them into action, how they can help the countries, of course, in order to meet their own commitments being made and being to be translated, of course, into actions. What is it that they can contribute to help them further organize their own areas after the summit? Because we are very short, just like within we are about to develop our own mid-year education report, and we are almost very clear to the international summit called for by the UN Secretary General. And also we are very close to the different international commitments made. And education is the future of humankind, mankind, peace, prosperity, development, coexistence. With this in mind, of course, these are the main goals why this virtual webinar is being conducted now by the ABIGS, because the office itself, or the bureau itself, is one of the most important entities that is very much interested in education, the quality of education, enhancement of education, supported by all the GCC countries and the world countries. With this in mind, of course, that's why, of course, the ABIGS has invited you to attend this virtual webinar. Without further ado, His Excellency Dr. Abdulrahman Al-Asimi, Director General of the ABIGS, is kindly requested to deliver his own speech, or welcoming speech, based on this. Big thanks go to you for your own unlimited support and cooperation coordination, where you work across all the programs, projects. Thank you so much. Your attention is highly appreciated. Thank you so much, Your Excellency. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, please, peace, blessing be upon you all. Prophet Muhammad, house of the company, Excellencies, distinguished all ladies and gentlemen, my colleagues, heads of organization, entities, establishments, entities, societies, ministries, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished audience, peace, blessing be upon you all. First of all, I am honored and delighted to welcome you all on behalf and in the name of ABIGS, Excellency Distinguished, to this virtual webinar. I would like to express my appreciation and gratitude for your own accepting the invitation to attend this virtual webinar that will speak about the role of the regional and low and international organization post Transforming Education Summit 2022, which is a completion of the summit requirements, and how to learn more about the roles of the regional and international organizations and the roles and responsibilities yet to be played by them after the summit 2022. Your Excellency, distinguished audience, of course, the meetings, conferences, and webinars and forums talk about the thermal confinement and the different crises, different wars, and the pandemics that have come into play, which I consider one of the most important challenges, obstacles facing education. Again, COVID-19 pandemic has shown us, to mention but a few, such a global crisis, including all the sectors of life, both social and economical factors. And the impact of COVID-19 pandemic has come into education, where education has come to a standstill, has come to an end. Of course, in-person, while still educational systems have converted into the virtual webinars. Of course, failures were there in terms of the equity and the quality for education. That is why this Transforming Education Summit 2022 has come into play to play such a great role in order to enhance the level of education at the local, regional, and global level, in order to concede more efforts and put more efforts, of course, and suggest more innovative solutions in order to restore education as well and improve it into a much better stage and level. Being education is a common interest for everyone, in addition to making more progress and development and rethinking education, making it more important than it was. Equally important, the world countries have been committed to making more decisions in order to transform their own education system into better, and also enhancing financing and funding education to achieve their desired goals based on a different system of strategies, most important of which is engaging the entire societies when it comes to transformation of education and addressing the opportunity, the inequality across the education systems, and also different obstacles, instead of having different strategies or conflicting strategies. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished audience, in order to achieve progress and prosperity and SDG 4 of the world education when it comes to the sustainable development, which aims to ensure and enhance a good quality of education, equitable and comprehensive education, in addition to enhancing lifelong education opportunities. The education system needs to be very much adaptable and resilient, and cope up with the different increasingly growing challenges, which focuses more on students and more connected and more comprehensive and more resilient. Equally important, the resources of education should be always developing in order to reflect these kind of changes and live up to these changes. It is very important that we have to develop more and more in terms of the different alternatives, so that they come into play and they play better solutions. This also needs to be developed, of course, through one unified, one standardized vision for 21st century education, in addition to, of course, enhancing the commitments of countries so that they can be able to translate the commitments into actions through the different stakeholders and entities. Of course, the digital revolution will be key to this, even though the member countries of ABICS, of the GCC countries, made great efforts in order to prepare education in tandem with technologies, and also be able to be up to the crisis, any crisis, along with the ambitious programs in order to build the education system that can be very much resilient and able to challenge all or face all the challenges, and to be more comprehensive. Today, after the international or global summit of education, I hope that this virtual webinar be able to answer what is coming after the summit, and how can the role be played by entities and organizations regionally and globally, based on the 5 tracks that have been emphasized by the summit. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, but again, from this position, I would like to express my appreciation and gratitude to the custodian of the 2 holy mosques, King Salman bin Abdulaziz, and His Royal Highness Prince Mohammed, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, Prime Minister. May Allah protect them both, for the great efforts, great support always provided by them to ABICS, directly from the headquarters of ABICS here in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Equally important, I would like to observe my appreciation and gratitude to all the Arab leaders and the Minister of Education for the ABICS in such a way that helped, that contributed to making it able to address all the needs. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished audience, equally important, I'd like to express my appreciation and gratitude to you. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished audience, participants, wishing all you the best, of course, and the outcomes of this workshop or webinar will be such a great added value. Wishing you always the best. Equally important, I would like to express my appreciation and gratitude to His Excellency Dr. Abdulsalam Al-Jawfi, and all the colleagues working for the organization and cooperation coordination for this virtual webinar, hoping that this will be able to help us achieve our own goals. Thank you so much. Your attention is highly appreciated. Thank you so much for your excellency.
To the special advisor of the UN General Secretary, Dr. His Excellency ليوراندو جارينر. ليوراندو جارينر الحقيقة لعب دور كبير جدا في
Leonardo plays such a great role in preparing and organizing this transforming education summit based on his position, Minister of Education, and also as a consultant to the General Secretary of UN, and also based on all extended expertise. I strongly believe that this file will be very much important and very much fruitful and productive. Your Excellency, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Dear Excellencies, colleagues, dear friends, I'm glad to join you at this International Forum of the Arab Bureau of the Education of the Gulf States on the occasion of the International Day of Education. On this important day, we are still painfully reminded that education confronts, as we said in the summit, a triple crisis. A crisis of equity and inclusion, as millions are still out of school, a crisis of quality, as many of those who are in school are not even learning the basics, and the crisis of relevance, as many educational systems are not equipping the new generations with the values, knowledge, and skills they need to thrive in today's complex world. That was the context in which the UN Secretary General convened the Transforming Education Summit. In 7 short months, the summit managed to bring education back to the top of the political debate, and it also helped mobilize commitments for transformative action from governments, from development partners, civil society, multilateral agencies, young people, and many more. As urgent as it is to recover from the learning losses due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we know that that's not enough. The world must reimagine and transform its educational systems if they are to be fit for purpose. In terms of what we discussed at the summit, that means that education must be understood as a holistic learning process, a process through which we learn how to learn throughout our lives. We learn how to do and how to work in this rapidly changing world. We learn how to live together with respect for each other and for nature, and especially education should be a process through which we learn how to be, how to live, how to enjoy a full and meaningful life. All this implies rethinking both the content and the methods of education. Schools must be transformed so that they include everyone, regardless of circumstance, gender, context, or background. And it is, of course, essential that we guarantee education for girls. Teachers must be supported to become valued agents of change. The digital revolution can be harnessed to guarantee universal access, and especially to ensure more creative ways of teaching and learning. And finally, as we said, countries and international financial institutions must recognize that education is not a mere expenditure, but a crucial long-term investment, and they should act accordingly. To reach such goals, we need bold and urgent transformative action. It is my hope that the summit has helped to spark many of those actions, including the emergence of a youth-led global movement for the transformation of education. Young people will be the ones who demand from us and from their governments their right to a quality education. That is how rights become a reality. Something that is, especially in this meeting, very important to emphasize is that regional organizations will play a critical role in this regard. They can be the convener of platforms where common problems, common solutions can be discussed. They constitute that necessary layer of complexity that enables us to move from target-focused in-country implementation to the broader global level vision and commitments. Arab states are home to an undisputed potential when it comes to education transformation, and many steps have already been taken in the region to move towards the education systems we need in the 21st century. Now we need to switch gears, maintain momentum, and keep moving together towards implementing our vision and the transformation we are committed to. As we celebrate the International Day of Education, allow me to remind us that this transformation is incumbent on all of us, from member states to regional organizations to the United Nations systems, to achieve this higher purpose. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for, such, attitudes, and you're leading, for, this momentum goal. In fact, it's DG4 waiting for us, from us a lot, and waiting from us out of cooperation and coordination. Thank you very much. الآن سوف أنتقل.
And now I'll be moving on to the Cisco, which of course has about quarter of the world member countries. His Excellency Salim, please, the floor is yours. Thank you ever so much. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most beneficent, Your Excellency, Dr. Abdulrahman العاصمي,
المدير العام لمكتب التربية العربي لدول الخليج,
the Director General of ABIGS, Your Excellency Muhammad, Excellency Dr. Muhammad, Director General of ALIXO, ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellency Dr. Lyourandou, Your Excellency, distinguished audience, peace, blessing be upon you all. This virtual webinar comes in line with the International Day of Education, which is a great international day. It does not come like other days that world countries celebrate, but it is a special day where we celebrate because it has a special nature, because everyone feels proud of this day. If education is a book full of activities, so such a great day is a crown of all the days. So it is very important to celebrate this International Day in such a unique way, which can reflect our own interests and how challenges there are, of course, that we are facing. It is very important. And also the ABIGS, of course, makes a lot of efforts, great efforts, of course. And this is something that we are used to having always, coming from ABIGS and other similar entities. Equally important, the reports, the webinars, the conferences, ever since COVID-19 pandemic, always refer to such a great, wise vision, mission. This virtual webinar is one of many other, of course, activities and events. Ladies and gentlemen, few months have passed ever since the Transforming Education Summit was established there in September 2022 in order to, of course, transform the speech into something that is actions. 4 months doesn't mean just a little. A lot of things have come into play because it's a time that where we should put a lot of efforts, of course, put a lot of innovative solutions. And also our own meetings today, it is supposed to be like to be an introduction to other visions, other missions, other ideas, creative ideas, innovative ideas, because no one of us here would accept something that is below this. With this, of course, stage and tone, we need to, of course, go beyond the methodology and the approach so that we can translate the commitments into actions, and also taking into consideration the different statistics. So also taking our own ideas into our own desired goals. And also all the stakeholders, sharing and partnering with all the stakeholders so that we can reach our own desired objectives. Following up and racing against time, it is very important, of course, to recognize how important it is. So the road is long, but still we need to make more efforts in tandem, in concert, in order to achieve, as I said, the SDG 4 of the Sustained Development by 2030. This challenge goes along with another challenge where it means that in one way or another, that most of the countries making up the developing countries need to make their own visions, policies, and they need to be committed to this. And here comes, of course, the added value of the regional, local, and global organizations and entities to put their own objectives and goals, of course, based on indicators which are always specialized in identifying the budget and balance the budgets, of course, and also identifying the time-based stages in order to understand how plans can be put into action, and also identifying the priorities, identifying also how to bridge the gaps in education across countries, also determining different tracks where we can work, and also identifying the strengths and weaknesses. All these, of course, we need to achieve the requirements of quality and excellence of education, and also achieve our own goals. And Cisco, of course, within this text, of course, emphasizes always the commitments of the organization, entities, and countries in order to provide what is expected in terms of the curricular and the methodological and the technical support. And also the organization will have international conference on high level in order to follow up the agenda of the Global Transforming Education Summit in the second quarter of this year. In this regard, of course, the organization is always organizing efforts to work with others. Thank you very much. Your attention is highly appreciated. Thank you so much, Your Excellency. Moving ahead to the Arabian organization, Your Excellency, Professor Muhammad Wald, please, the floor is yours. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most beneficent, Your Excellency, Dr. Abdalrahman Al-Asmi, General Director of ABIGS, Your Excellency, Dr. Salim bin Muhammad, the General Director of ISCO, Your Excellency, Leonardo, Dr. Consultant of the United Nations Secretary, General Secretary, Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, peace and blessing be upon you all. First of all, allow me to express my appreciation and gratitude to Dr. Abdalrahman Al-Asmi, the General Director of ABIGS, for the great invitation sent to me, of course, to participate in this virtual webinar about the role of regional and global organization post the Transforming Education Summit, which of course we highly appreciate. We feel it is very important in order to discuss and work cooperatively and jointly in order to achieve the recommendations of the summit in New York, September 2022, which is a summit that has come up with the different decisions yet to be calling all the countries, organizations, entities relating to education in order to translate their commitments into actions, making education as a decisive, of course, a trigger for future that is joint across all the countries, and also all the sectors and subsectors of education. Equally important, it is very important, of course, to work on funding and financing education, which of course was announced, which were made into decisions, of course, through the follow-up directly in such a way, of course, by the vision and the statement made by the UN Secretary for Education 2030. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished audience, COVID-19 pandemic revealed, along with implications, revealed a lot of problems and challenges to education. And what was planned, of course, what was put into action, which means that education almost came to a standstill, and the great gaps were there between the normal education, traditional education, and digital education. And also, which called all the entities, all the countries, of course, called them to take efforts so that education should be of high quality, of course, should be more comprehensive and should be more equitable, making it like a right for everyone. So it is very important that we have to consider our own efforts, making education available and accessible for everyone with no exceptions such whatsoever, making education available for all and all the requirements and the needs for students so that they can better understand, better share, and better understand and benefit from education. The organization also, which is interested to working with different Arab countries and the partners, of course, in our Arab region, being enabling member with the kingdom of the Hashemite kingdom of Jordan, particularly, of course, to work to follow up the decision of the Transforming Education Summit decisions, which includes the 5 tracks adopted by the Transforming Education Summit, through providing support for the results of the summit and also taking the actions yet to be made of the two coming years, of course, and also making more partnership and more cooperation and coordination, and transforming education more efficiently based on the decisions of the summit, and also developing a report of what has been made or what to be made, which is part and parcel of the steering committee report. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to draw your attention that the Arabian organization, of course, always ready to participate with all the entities and organizations with decision-makers and policymakers across the Arab countries through different ministerial conferences, about of which is, of course, a conference for ministers of education across the Arab countries, and the vocational and technical conferences, education. With this in context, of course, I would like to draw attention that we are following closely with the Arab countries, the 20th conferences that was held last year, of course, to develop more policies, decisions in order to cope up with education at the time of crisis and challenges. It is very important also to develop a national plan for education that is comprehensive and equitable for all. We are closely working, of course, on the 13th session for education in the first quarter, in the first half of the first mid of the year for the Arab countries. This is in addition to other efforts, the consultative committees in education and school health and university health and education, in addition to other training and scientific activities which can help also to enhance our countries in education. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished audience, at the end of my speech, I would like to express my gratitude to you all in ABIDS for the great organization of this virtual webinar, wishing always to help us come up with our own the achievements of our goals and also the SDG number 4. Thank you very much. Your attention is highly appreciated. Big thanks due to you all. We always wishing to see the joint cooperation, coordination, and support this, of course, more and more. Thank you ever so much. I move again to the interventions. There are so many and organized, so that we need to listen to the organizations, entities, permanent entities. We have different, like we have banks, we have entities, UNESCO, ELISCO, UNICEF, and other different organizations. I'd like to start with Dubaika. Mr. Tariq Dubaika is quite known. Please, I'd like to give you the floor to speak in English. Please go ahead. Thank you very so much. Thank you ever so much. Thanks for the invitation. We don't know whether to speak in English or Arabic. I'll speak in English anyway.
Hello, everyone, and I'll speak in English. First of all, I would like to thank the Bureau for inviting us. I think it comes at a very vital moment after Rewired, after tests, after actually Davos just recently on what's happening and the upcoming summits. I would like to just inform everyone that Dubai Cares was a key strategic partner to the UN Transforming Education Summit. We had a framework that came out from the 5 years of intensive consultation and in-country programming with Dubai Cares. It's a 15-year journey, but it took us 5 years that we have designed a framework for global education transformation, and it served as a core guiding tool for countries during the Transforming Education Summit national consultations. It was extensively referenced as the national consultation report outlining individual nations' plans, path for transforming education. Now, as a powerful guiding tool, it has informed global discussions and proposed solutions for education transformation through featuring in the discussions paper for tests action track 2 on learning and skills for life, work, and sustainable development. We also, as Dubai Cares, launched the Rewiring Education for People and Planet report at the Transforming Education Summit. The report captures key recommendations for rewiring education, and it's extracted from discussions and insight shared during the Rewired Summit at Expo 2020 Dubai. It offers 6 concrete win-win solutions that promote a cross-sectoral ecosystem approach to align thinking and action for transformational education outcomes and to further achieve progress across sustainable development goals as well. Now, for plans following the tests, we are now working closely with governments and international agencies on the operationalization of both the framework and the report to position education at the heart of human development strategies. We are also currently working on the operationalization of the Rewired Global Declaration on Connectivity for Education, which is in partnership with UNESCO, and it aims to make technology an enabler of our education goals. The declaration was also used as a key guiding tool for Transforming Education Summit discussions as well. In addition, we are working towards placing education at the top of the climate agenda. So I would like to break the news, and it's very fresh as we speak. So recently, just a few days ago, we announced our partnership with the incoming COP28 UAE presidency to work on a suite of climate education outcomes to position education as a key climate solution through hosting a climate-focused Rewired Summit at the COP28 as well. Dubai Cares will convene the global education sector at the Rewired Summit to align efforts and actions and unite visions. I invite you all to attending this historic moment of having education as a main pillar and a full day for the first time in the history of the COP. And finally, we will also be working on accelerating solutions at country level, and we will be announcing shortly the mechanisms to do this. We invite our partners to join us on this journey. In terms of what global philanthropic organizations should be focusing on, I believe we all need to work hard towards placing education at the heart of global human development strategies. And we can achieve this by having a cross-collaborating agendas and levels and stakeholders to lead the transformation of our education ecosystems for our children and youth. And that will also be through a whole of society ecosystem approach, where every actor sees value in investing in education. Therefore, regional and global philanthropic organizations must align their strategies and forge meaningful partnerships to realize common goals. If we have one goal that we have to achieve to transform education, I think the entire sector has to unite to have these strategies aligned. What COVID did to us, it aligned the sector finally, the education sector, because we were dismantled and working in silos. Now, since we're aligned, and now since we have the test and we have the Rewired Summit, and we're working together closely more than ever, let's unite even together to have strategies aligned to have a global strategy. Thank you very much. Shukran.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'll go directly to the quality of education and Dirk Hassad, the director of IA. Dirk, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Abdul Salam, and also thanks for the invitation to talk at this very important meeting. Thanks to Alex. First, I'd like to congratulate all the countries in the region for the immense investment and emphasis in education. In the IA studies, we see great developments in the educational outcomes in the region. So I think big steps already have to be made. In my intervention, to be brief, I want to just focus on 3 different things. One is that I think we all agree that investment needs to be made in education continuously, and furthermore, I think it's important to invest money, not only invest money, but invest it wisely. For this, we need data-driven policies. Countries from the region are already participating broadly in IA studies like TIMSS and PEARLS. And from what I heard and saw, they gain insights and continuously improve education. But there are new developments and challenges, and we heard about that before. One is clearly the digitalization. From our IACIS study, we saw that investing in digital devices is not enough. We need to develop the teacher skills also. They need to use and need to learn how to use the digital equipment. Otherwise, all the investment might be a waste of money. So digital digitalization of schools can only be successful if we get all the teachers also on board. So again, it's very important to invest in education, but invest wisely based on data like the one from IA. Secondly, and that goes onto that, we need to support teachers better. IA also recently just launched a Giving Back to Teachers initiative, where we focus on developing materials from our studies that help teachers. There are materials on how to teach reading, and we encourage translation in all languages. We support that. And there's also a book on digital reading skills is currently written. We also have one on misconceptions in science education. So I think we need to place a lot of emphasis on teachers, and that's what we also currently do at IEA. Lastly, and this is really also on my heart, we need to facilitate teaching for sustainability and climate change education, as we also heard before. This is such an important aspect. In TIMSS, we established a new scale on environmental awareness in TIMSS 2019, and we'll continue to use that. And we found that environmental awareness is not only a matter of interest and willingness to change, but we sadly found that there's a good amount of students still lacking basic skills in the area. And you try to want to do something good, but if you don't know what's good and what's not good, you can't be successful. So we need to have also an emphasis in teaching in these skill areas, and IA will continue in that, and we will also continue to develop in this area. And also the current cycle of our TIMSS study expanded the questionnaires to the students, especially in this area. So my 3 points: let's continue investments. It's very important, but spend the money wisely. Secondly, let's definitely emphasize teachers, teacher education, teacher in-service training. And lastly, let's look also in environment and environmental education, very important aspects. In Germany, we have a saying, education is like rowing on a river against a stream. Whenever you stop, you will move back. So what we need is continuous investment and continue our emphasis in education. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you. Now I will move to IB, University Director. Dr. Yadu, I know that you are in Chad. Thank you to join us from Chad. Yadu? Yes, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, dear moderator. Thank you very much to ABEX. I would like to start by congratulating ABEX for this timely and forward-looking initiative upon building new commitments for education, as it was recommended strongly during the Transforming Education Summit in New York. We need to enlarge our vision and deepen our shared understanding on the what and how we can contribute together to give effect to the Transforming Education calls for action at country level. IB, as you know, is based in Geneva, and our mandate is focused on improving quality of education. And the transforming education that was requested from the TESS Summit cannot be done without transforming curriculum, which means that the work of IB and the mandate has been put in front again. Not only in New York, it was not only clear, it came clearly out that countries should be more on the driving seats to boost and accelerate SDG 4 achievement. But also, it was recommended strongly that countries build strong and inclusive partnerships around education. It's therefore time for wise, more efficient and distributive leadership on education affairs, in which roles and contributions of all education stakeholders, like the one gathered here today, national and international, are more clearly determined and encouraged. The Transforming Education Summit constitutes a turning decisive point in the discussion and collective transformation of education system through the global and worldwide. If we want to educate the new generation for better, sustainable and democratic and inclusive, fair and sustainable societies, we need to take new commitment. One of the biggest challenges we are facing as regional and international organizations gathered in this panel, it lies in how we understand and assume the transformation of education within a systemic, forward-looking and progressive vision. To transform the New York commitment into action, we need to respond to the following 4 questions, among others. First question, are we willing to open ourselves to renew ways of understanding education, not from silos and comfort zones, speeches, approaches, and intervention, but primarily understanding the learners as a person? The second question, can we live for a moment at least, our preferably forever, our adult-centric, narrow, and supply-oriented vision of education that are far from the dreams, expectations, and needs of the younger generation? The third question, can we recognize that our pedagogies and education provision processes are outdated today and rather boring for younger generation and students in class? Fourth question, and last one, are we willing to take strong measures to promote more affection, respect, and caring for educators, namely teachers, as key transformers of education in the classroom, and as co-developers of curriculum and co-partners with the learner? Ladies and gentlemen, in order to contribute to respond to these questions, the IBE, my institute, is committed to promote a mix of global and local reflections, initiatives, and development on transforming the curricula and pedagogies as key drivers to rethink the purpose, content, and strategies of education. The IBE is happy and keen to supporting the region and synergize our effort with ABEX and other partners like Dubai Case in the region, and promoting renewed ways of engaging diversity of education and quality transformation. We are committed to build our new partnership with key education stakeholders to provide technical support to the UNESCO member states in their effort to reimagine education through curriculum transformation. In that vein, we have just, and I'm pleased to announce it, we have just finalized with ABEX an MOU that we will soon sign to address some of the curricular challenges in the Gulf region. Finally, dear ladies and gentlemen, let me share with you some of the main education challenges of many countries that IBE has started working on in close cooperation with national experts and under the leadership of ministries of education. These challenges include the following. First one, curriculum overload. Curricula are overload in many countries. We have too many subjects. Some are useless today, and children, learners are bored in classes. The second challenge is the transformation of pedagogy, moving from memorization-based pedagogy to creativity and critical mind development pedagogy. The third challenge is the promotion of indigenous curricula, valuing local cultures, traditional knowledge, use of mother tongue education, etc. As Mr. Guterres said during the Transforming Education Summit, he said that we should decolonize education. The fourth challenge is the change of culture of evaluation and assessment. We need to move. Today in many countries, we evaluate, we make examinations to determine who is a good student, who is a bad student. When evaluation results are bad, only the students are guilty, they are blamed. Never the teacher, never the pedagogy. We need to change this culture of evaluation. Another challenge is the promotion of hybrid education and teaching for the 21st century's competencies, and above all, to build the resilience of education systems, because COVID showed us that many countries' education systems are not resilient at all. And use of ICT and distance education, hybrid learning is the key to build the resilience of education system. The last one, finally, to face this, I want to say that to face all these challenges and among others, we start in IBE by building national capacities in curriculum-related issues. Because to address all these issues at country level, we need national experts, a critical mass of national curriculum experts in every country, because IBE has some responses to these challenges, but we don't want to bring our solution. We want to co-build the solution at country level with national experts. That's why we start by building the capacities at national level before undertaking this journey of education transformation, which is key. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'll go directly to Jordan. Jordan is a famous person. He's now the acting director of IIP, and he was responsible for education 2030 at UNESCO. Jordan, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Abdul Salam. First, let me thank His Excellency Dr. Al-Asmi and ABEX for inviting me to participate in this discussion with the distinguished group of speakers on this International Day for Education with its theme of investing in people and prioritizing education. It is extremely clear that regional and international organizations such as ABEX have a critical role to play in supporting countries to deliver on the commitments of TESS as well as the SDG goals. As His Excellency Ghani has already pointed out, we face a triple crisis, one of equity, one of inclusion, quality, and relevance, which were all exacerbated by the COVID crisis. Clearly, collective action involving all of us, international and regional organizations, is necessary if we are to address the crisis. As we begin to reflect on how we can actually move from talking to action, it's important to recall the 5 principles that informed the Transforming Education Summit. I think it's important that we repeat these principles. The first, a whole government and a whole society approach is extremely important. Second, we cannot achieve any of the objectives if we do not address equity and inclusion. Third, and this is really important for this particular session focusing on regional and international organizations, the summit emphasized the link between global, national, and the local. And clearly there is a role for an organization like ABEX with regard to that principle. As already pointed out, we have to pay attention to the principle of youth engagement. Without the young people involved, none of the commitments expressed by governments, expressed by all of the partners will be realized. Also, I think it's important to realize and for efficiency and effectiveness, not to repeat. We have to make use of existing organizations, existing mechanisms and processes. It's important to build on the SDG progress so far and not to start parallel tracks. And finally, and I think the colleague from IEA emphasized the importance of data, the importance of evidence. We have to have solutions that are tried and tested, as well as new ones, innovative solutions looking to the future. As Abdul Salam has pointed out, I'm in an interim role here at UNESCO International Institute for Education Planning, IIP. And from that perspective, working together with an organization like ABEX is extremely important. We do know that we can work with ABEGS and other partners, all of whom are on this session, to assist countries to ensure that national commitments to transform education are realized in respect to our own mandate, focusing on policy and planning. Specifically, we can work with all of the partners to collaboratively support the integration of the Transforming Education Summit commitments into existing education sector systems and plans without losing the focus on the broader SDG agenda. Such integration will require support for moving from commitments to policy and plans, and from policy and plans to action. I keep coming back to the word action. We need to be able to translate the grand plans that we have into realizable actions and outcomes. To this end, regional and international organizations' support must focus on assisting countries ensure alignment across socioeconomic development plans, education sector plans, refugee and humanitarian response plans, education reform programs, curricula, and assessment systems. At the same time, it is most important that international and regional organizations facilitate alignment and coordinated action amongst the multiplicity of regional and international organizations, stakeholders, and others in terms of policy priorities and strategies, and most important, consolidated financing. We do have many solutions, but we need to prioritize. Regional cooperation, peer learning, and capacity support needs organized through the regional SDG 4 coordination mechanisms and regional offices of UN agencies, including UNESCO and UNICEF, is a priority. It's in this space that regional organizations like ABEGS will be critical. Clearly, ABEGS has an important role, not only in the Gulf and in the Middle East, but globally. From a practical level and consistent with IIP's own engagement in support for moving from commitments to policy and plans, and from policy and plans to action, some indicative actions we could undertake with ABEGS and other partners on this panel include providing a platform for consultation among key regional stakeholders to revisit some of the conclusions of the summit and the national commitments to further unpack key elements to identify bottlenecks to transformation. Hosting interministerial meetings to sustain commitment. We have to continue to hold ministers to account and to help them support and take forward the commitments they have made. We have to work together to conduct annual review sessions or other reviews to examine if and how policies and plans pay attention to the transformation agenda. This is very important. We have to look at what is going on, assess progress, and learn from the lessons where those countries and those partners are successful. Work with groups of countries with similar challenges to identify those bottlenecks and to use solutions that are both regionally adaptable, but also adaptable to the local context of countries. There are many more suggestions, but I will say one of the last that I want to refer to is the sharing of potential successful initiatives that may be scaled up across a region to ensure system-wide reform. And I think my colleague Guido made reference, and others, the issue of climate change is really important. And one of the things we as education stakeholders need to realize, we cannot work alone within the education sector. While we adopt a system-wide sectoral approach, we have to work with other sectors. And I think this is an important lesson. Finally, let me just say that education transformation is not easy, but it is achievable. It is only achievable through collective commitment and action. And while governments lead the process, they cannot succeed without the help and support of all of us. whether we are a regional or an international organization, and most importantly, from the participation and commitment of local communities. Thank you very much. Back to you, Salam.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. With your permission, Yasmin.
Thank you very
we
much.
have Mahra
Yasmin?
Hilal. She is now in the airport, and
Mahra,
she will
she is at the airport.
give her
She will deliver her speech
before she leaves.
Mahra, please.
And be sure that not exceed 3 minutes.
Just 3 minutes, please.
Don't worry, دكتور عبد السلام. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الصوت واضح؟
اي نعم تفضل.
الصوت واضح؟
نعم تفضل.
Please go ahead.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Peace be upon you all. First of all,
أشكرك دكتور عبد السلام على
I would like to thank you ever so much for, because I am between two flights, so I need to be there at this meeting, a special meeting for the international organizations. First of all, let me express my appreciation for Dr. Abdulrahman Al-Asami, the General Director of ABEX, our own strategic partner, for the leadership of the ABEX and the great commitment made to have and invite all in order to standardize, unify all the visions. Also, I'd like to express my appreciation and gratitude for all the global and regional organizations, so that they can help to achieve the goals, the national goals and the national goals and the regional goals, in order to cope up and follow up, of course, all the support in order to come up with the international goals. I am honored also the Regional Center for Strategic Planning to cope and work, of course, in close cooperation with our own partners for our own interest of our own country, so that we can make better future in education more sustainably. In order to achieve better education and follow up, of course, this, of course, and as initiatives, national initiatives, as emphasized by his own keynote speech, these commitments should be translated into actions, into projects, and should be based, of course, on this. And I believe that we as organization entities, we need to unify our own efforts so that we can streamline our own actions, supporting, of course, countries directly based on their own special needs. Each country has its own special needs, so that we have to build our own plans and action plans based on, of course, this kind of support, so that we can support this directly. Equally important, we need to build shared and joint platforms in order to share expertise and experiences and learn lessons. So when we analyze this, of course, we see that there are so many success stories that we need to share and learn from. There are challenges, but again, at the same time, there are other success stories that need to be, of course, maximized, capitalized, and we need, of course, to better understand that we as entities and organizations, we have like common vision for all these groups. So with this in mind, we have to work as platforms to share expertise and experiences. It is very important also to benefit from this. At the end, I would like to express my appreciation and gratitude and also to have better education for all our students. Equally important, I would like to express my appreciation for the United Arab Emirates for the great efforts always made for the center. Also equally important, I would like to express my appreciation Minister of Education in the United Arab Emirates, the head of the board of directors, for and continued support for the center and the national, regional and international level. Thank you very much. Your attention is highly appreciated. Dr. Abdulsalam Al-Jofi, thank you so much for your close cooperation and coordination. Thank you very so much as well for the great efforts you always make. Thank you very so much. I'll move on to Yasmin.
Okay, should I start? Okay, thank you very much. Salam and shukran kathir for inviting me, an educational way to participate in this very important initiative by the Gulf countries. And I would like to thank the Arab Bureau for Education for the Gulf states, the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Oman, and Qatar. And it's very much a pleasure to be here with all of you. You know, the Transforming Education Summit that the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres convened was a benchmark in the history of the United Nations because education was put at the center. And in many ways, education is the foundation to achieve all other sustainable development goals. Now, the Arab Gulf region, the governments, foundations, and the global conveners have a very crucial role to play. Very crucial role to play. Just to name a few, the Revive Summit in the United Arab Emirates or the WISE Summit in Qatar are brilliant examples of strategic convening power or successful models on the work of His Majesty King Salman Humanitarian Center, how we prioritize education in crisis. We need the vision, the leadership, and the resources of the Gulf region to help support us delivering holistic quality education to children and adolescents who are caught in climate disasters, armed conflicts, or enforced displacement. And I would like to share with you, for education cannot wait. 40% of our resources are invested precisely in this region. So we need you to join us. We work in Palestine. We are investing massively in Palestine, in Al-Quds, in the rest of the West Bank, in Gaza, in Yemen, in Syria, in Sudan, in Iraq. We work very closely with Lebanon, and across the entire Arab world and the Islamic world, and of course Christian and Muslim Arab world. But we're going beyond to the Rohingyas, and we're working very hard on education for the boys and the girls in Afghanistan. And we shall not stop to deliver education to girls in Afghanistan. And we need your support. And I know you're working very hard to ensure that, of course, Afghanistan has its sovereignty, but it also needs to develop the 50% of its population as nurses, as doctors, as teachers, namely the girls. It's in this spirit that education cannot wait, and I, on behalf of Education Cannot Wait, I feel very honored to invite the Gulf countries to join us at the Education Cannot Wait's high-level financing conference that is co-hosted with the government of Switzerland, co-convened by the governments of Colombia, Germany, Norway, South Sudan, and Niger next month in Geneva, the 16th to the 17th of February. And if you would like to attend and make pledges, please contact either me or my dear colleague, Nasser Al-Fakir. This book of data, it was Education Cannot Wait's hard work, night after night, that came up with the figure of 222 million children and youth having their education disrupted in conflict and climate, of course, displacement. Until that research was done, everyone assumed it was 75 million. No, it's over triple the number. They are the ones left furthest behind. That's where we need to put our financial resources to get the best curriculum, to get quality education, holistic education, because it costs money. We all know that education requires financial resources. And we know the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, and the Deputy Secretary General, Amin Mohammed, they stand behind Education Cannot Wait's high-level financing conference in Geneva, calling on everyone to provide us with the finances. We are asking for $1.5 billion in order to deliver to 20 million children and youth, of whom 40% live in the region of the Middle East, the countries I have mentioned. So please join us. We need the Gulf countries. I personally, having roots in the region, look forward to working with you. We need your leadership, we need your knowledge, and we need you to help us with the resources. شكرا كثير، شكرا كثير.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much indeed. دكتور فهد السليطي، تسمح لكوستنزا تتكلم لأنها الآن على الطائرة ولا أخذت دورك؟ دكتور فهد السليطي، التعليم فوق الجميع.
Could you give your turn to Doctor because she is on plane almost?
I apologize. Thank you so much. I apologize, Dr. Fahad, to take your turn. It's just I'm about to miss my plane. So, but I wanted to make sure I could contribute to this very enriching debate. Let me join previous speakers in thanking really warmly the Director General of ABEX, Dr. Abdulrahman Al-Asmi, which I had the opportunity to meet also before, and of course to the excellent moderator Abdul Salam Al-Jufi, a strong partner of the Beirut office. I joined the previous speakers. A lot has been said already about the importance of education, so I will not really reiterate that. Just let me point out a couple of points. Number one, we know that the SDG high-level steering committee is responsible to lead the test follow-up, of course, in close coordination with all the partners, which are the prominent institutions which are represented at this very important webinar. This is an overall institutional governing umbrella which will facilitate the coordination we have been talking about. The high-level steering committee has issued guiding principles to help the member states, because of course what we are talking about, how do we translate the commitments, the national commitments of all the member states into concrete action. So there are some axes for support. So obviously the first is to ensure that the commitments are integrated in the policies and planning and plans of the different member states, and that of course the policies and plans are translated into action, and then the action are actually monitored and the progress is assessed and reported on. It's important to monitor the progress because the issue of accountability of the governments and the different stakeholders was very strongly reiterated in at the test, and the Beirut office is obviously supporting these different axes. We are working with the member state for the SDG monitoring, and obviously in close collaboration with the institutes and the UNESCO field offices represented here with IBE, our colleagues which just spoke. So that's definitely a joint effort that we look very much forward to strengthen. There were five calls for action which emanated from the test. Let me just mention the title because these are important for us to reiterate. One is, of course, the Coalition for Foundational Learning, and several speakers have spoken about this. The second is education in crisis situation, and unfortunately, many of the Arab countries are in crisis situation. The Gateway for Public Digital Learning, which I'm sure, particularly in the Gulf countries, is of great interest in terms of really artificial intelligence and investing on that. And the second is also importance of leadership for gender equality and women's empowerment. Let me focus on one last point, which is greening education partnership. I might share with you that yesterday we also celebrated the International Day of Education, and we convened partners, not only the Minister of Education, because one important point is to expand on the ownership of the commitments. We need to bring with us not only ministers of education or educational NGOs or educational institutions, but much more than that, like different stakeholders, different sectors. So yesterday in Lebanon, we had the Minister of Environment. We had environmental NGOs with us, directors of natural resources, national reserves, for example, all to work on how we can green education in Lebanon. So I thought this could be an interesting topic, and we are willing to work with all of you. Thank you very much for your attention. I'm sorry, I'll have to disconnect after that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you ever so much, Doctor. Now we move on to Dr. Fahad, which is a well-known organization working with different partners, particularly in the regional sector. Dr. Fahad, the floor is yours, please. Go ahead. Dr. Fahad, please go ahead. The floor is yours. Probably disconnected. We'll reconnect with him. Moving ahead to the head of the International Campaign for Education, please. Mr. Rafat, thank you ever so much, Dr. Abdussalam, and thanks for all, and thank for the ABIG's staff for organizing this great international conference. I'll be speaking under the name of the International Campaign for Education. What's it that we always tasked and entrusted with to work on, the International Campaign for Education, the civil society organization with a special attention on education. It is really a very much advanced role. So the educational awareness plays such a great role in identifying the different tracks in such a way where, of course, we need to be partner number one in terms of the SDG and also SDG 4. In addition, this campaign is very important in order to identify compliance with the different commitments made by these countries. Equally important, the governments of such countries need to be responsible for the all leadership in order to finance education sufficiently while still working to addressing the different challenges and the crises as commonly agreed upon, and the objectives that made, of course, unanimously, particularly with the SDG 4. And in order to do so, of course, it is very important to take different measures, such as, for example, increasing financial support and also allocating sufficient funding support. After Paris and New York summit, of course, it is very important for governments need to allocate 4 up to 6 of the GDP of each country, and not less than 15, 20% up to 20% of the public expenditure, so that education should be spent on as sufficiently as such. And also, we don't forget the global financial crisis in 2008. It is very important also to work closely through different ambition objectives while still committing themselves to the continued education. It is very important to develop a holistic government education through national strategies and financial and the balance and the budget strategies, which of course allow for what is known as shared financing in such a way that goes in line with the different priorities, strategies of national development that are at wider, while still understanding that the objective is not the sector itself, but the real people there when their life is changes. Of course, this is very important. It is very important as well to enhance the public budgets and financial supports in such a way that this kind of financial support is to be directed to the needs that most needs such kind of financial support, particularly when it comes to the countries that have no other resources. It is very important to increase this kind of financial support that go to education up to 50%. Again, I can be 20% of the overall financial supports. It is very important. These should be allocated for the countries, as I said, the countries in need and most need. It is very important to review the financial international framework and debt framework in order to identify where financial supports need to be directed. It is very important also to remove any conditions relating to supporting education. It is very important to use innovative tools such as partnering debts with education and the free of charge of education, and also restructuring, and also some other times these decisions need to be removed. And it is very important to link financing education with the amount or the volume of debts. It is very important also to rethink of the debts, of course, debts of education. It is very important also to support the policies that enhance education, that supports teachers and professional development. It is very important also to think of education across 4 tracks. That is why it is very important. That is why it is very important for the international campaign of education to focus on the different sectors for them. The campaign itself is committed to achieving its own strategy in line with the 5 tracks, in particular the following: developing higher levels of accuracy about the impacts of commitments of countries, including following up the procedures, actions based on the priorities of countries. It is very important to develop advocacy plans based on the results of the Transforming Education Summits in New York. It is very important to integrate the different commitments of different tracks in order to develop revealing reports, including the holistic educational approaches between two genders, males and females, developing an observatory for education to better understand how strategies come into play for different countries. It is very important to develop these countries and work closely for the SDG. It is very important also to engage the wider civil society organizations in such a way to improve their own actions. One more thing, I do suggest that to produce and develop more research studies that are based on labor, of course, including the educational technologies and utilization. Thank you very much. Your attention is highly appreciated. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Rafat. Dr. Fahad is back to us. That's okay. Let's move on to UNESCO, State of Qatar and Yemen. Mr. Salah, please go ahead. Big thanks go to you. Thank you so much. Yes, we can hear you well. His Excellency Director General of the ABEX, Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished audience, peace, blessing be upon you all. I'm honored to participate in this conference about the regional and global organizations after the New York Transforming Education Summit. I'd like to express my appreciation and gratitude, of course, for the ABEX for organizing this great conference. In addition to what has been said by my colleagues and the speakers, and after the results of the summit, of course, UNESCO has been entrusted with different activities on our own side. In the UNESCO in Doha, we will follow up, of course, closely with the member countries in our region, which means in the GCC countries, Qatar, Bahrain, Oman, United Arab Emirates and United Arab Emirates, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and Yemen. I am honored to see different representatives of the member countries here on board, even though virtually, on this big conference, which represent such a great step, of course, for joint actions in order to translate their commitments into actions, viable actions for or following the New York Transforming Education Summit in order to pave the way for future. Equally important, our own work will focus on 4 tracks, which are: first, supporting the member countries in order to achieve all the commitments made by them after the summit, and we started really working bilaterally with Kingdom of Bahrain in order to achieve what has been committed to in the summit, while still aiming to enhance our own scope to include all the member countries in order to put the action plan and road plan for the outcomes of the summit with timeline indicators so that we can have, like, based on better this, of course. Second, supporting the member countries in order to achieve 5 things which have been launched, of course, in the Transforming Education Summit, in partnership with education, green education, and also the different, and also supporting, and also the platform, the international platform.
وسيقود مكتب منظمة اليونسكو لدول الخليج واليمن في الدوحة استشارات إقليمية.
And also the Qatar office will do more and more on the national level. Equally important, will focus more on this, of course, in order to take different things, in order to support this, where, of course, that was taken into action, the Republic of Yemen is considered one of the most important or #1 priority in order for the Transforming Education Summit, where we'll support this, of course, when it comes to decision making and translation of these decisions. Equally important, we will also take this into consideration in September, including different improvements, amendments. I would like to draw your attention is that the UNESCO, of course, has started a training program for the adults and youth who lost their own education opportunities based on or because of this kind of war and the crisis. Also, our own office, of course, will also cooperate and coordinate different programs, different projects, different things to benefit from this. And for the different decision makers, policy makers, in order to contribute, of course, this into action. Number 4 and final, we will provide support for the member countries in order to follow up the SDG indicators, including the indicators that, of course, achieve what has been committed in the Transforming Education Summit. Our own office will support different workshops, programs, and support and projects based on, of course, the data, the reports, and data collection in close cooperation with our own partners and the UNESCO centers. At the end, I would like to congratulate and express my gratitude to ABEX for the great organization of this. Event. Thank you so much. Your attention is highly appreciated. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. We will sum up all, but let's move on ahead. Please, the floor is yours. Go ahead. Thank you so much, Dr. Abdulsalam.
Thank you all. I would like to thank Dr. Abdalrahman Al-Asmi, Director General of Arab Bureau for Speak, for organizing this very important meeting with all the different partners, international and citizen organizations, to follow up on the our council and the commission the support partnership that we have with all the Gulf countries, Saudi Arabia.
ممكن الصوت قليل. طيب هذا ممكن الصوت منخفض شوية.
اسمعني الآن. Is better now?
Yeah, okay, good, go.
So we really appreciate all for the participation from the Gulf countries, but also the participation in the Gulf countries. the Arab field of education for Delta State and also the ICTO and the other course vigilant organizations. And first of all, also to say, by the way, as you know, even before COVID-19, there was an education crisis. And COVID-19 has just activated the crisis further. And in that context, I can speak a little bit about the simulation of learning loss report that was prepared by UNICEF, UNESCO, the World Bank, and 2021. And that report analyzed data on learning disruption caused by COVID-19 global pandemic. The simulation has indicated that the proportion of 10-year-old children unable to read and understand simple appropriate steps could increase to 9%. The proportion of 15-year-old students performing below minimum proficiency reading, math, and science could increase up to 71%. And studies across regions could lose up to 1 trillion by time learning due to the learning loss. So that's just to put that background, and that's already those points that you mentioned. And within that context, the Transform Education Summit organized in September was an important milestone for resetting a global vision and national government commitment to transform education based on participatory national and regional consultation. The test was a crucial global moment to reflect not only on the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on education and learning, but most importantly, offers an opportunity to collaborate together to address the global learning crisis. Not to take a lot of time, I just would like to add more points. The other very important points that have already been mentioned earlier. We have, as you said, 8 points related to the global scope of UNICEF and partners on action in education. The first one is covering the learning crisis resulting from COVID-19 pandemic and prioritizing reaching the most marginalized children, adolescents, and young people, especially those poor and or displaced children, those living in the rural areas. The second, focusing on foundational learning, starting from early education to improve learning outcomes such as proficiency in literacy and numeracy, but also to ensure the integration of social and emotional learning, life skills, most important for lifelong learning, personal development, building resilience, and social development. Third point, increasing the quality of relevance of instruction and supporting teacher training and development to allow teachers to acquire relevant skills and competence, facilitate their students' learning and well-being with different modalities, in person, hybrid, or remote, while keeping students engaged and accountable for a variety of their learning needs. The fourth point, supporting parents with guidance and tools, including parents of children with disabilities, to participate their children's learning at home in school, and especially in the early years and throughout their education. The fifth point is scaling up innovation, learning, and skills development to bridge gaps in disparities in access, equity, and the quality of learning. The sixth point is build resilient and flexible education systems responsive to shocks through multiple pathways of learning, including digital learning, and while allowing for smooth transition between learning pathways. The seventh point, enabling students to be actively engaged and in control of their own learning, fostering diversity, creativity, and critical thinking. And the last and eighth point is providing safe learning environment, ensuring coherence between the values taught and the values embedded in teaching and learning, and also using schools and learning as space for integrated learning as platform to address multi-dimensional needs, including health, nutrition, social support, and child protection. So those are some of the additions to what have already been really to be part of. very important role, and we look forward to continue to work with all our partners in the Gulf, but also in global and regional partners. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you. شكرا جزيلا. شكرا. الآن ننتقل إلى الجودة ومركز.
I'd like to move on to speak about the Regional Center for Excellence and Quality, His Excellency Dr. Abdulrahman Al-Mudarris. Please, Your Excellency, the floor is yours. Please. Thank you so much, Dr. Abdulsalam. Thank you so much. Please, mercy being upon you, Prophet Muhammad. Your Excellency, Dr. Abdulsalam, Dr. Abdalrahman Al-Asimi, Director General of ABEX, Your Excellency, distinguished audience, I would like to express my appreciation and gratitude for you all. I am honored and delighted to express my appreciation and gratitude to ABEX for the great efforts for making this virtual webinar happen in close cooperation, in line with the International Day of Education, investing in people to give priority to education in order to enhance integrity and joint work and action between the regional and the global organizations to collectively talk about the roles and responsibilities for all the organization in response to the five action tracks or actions. I would like to summarize and talk about some efforts made by the UNESCO Regional Office for Excellence and Equality. This is in response to two questions by His Excellency Dr. Abdulrahman. What is post-COVID-19, post-transforming educational summit in terms of the roles and responsibility of the regional and global organizations in order to support the initiatives in the five tracks, while still emphasizing that quality in education is considered as a value that is very important to face all the crises at a high level of efficiency. I'll start the five actions. The first track is holistic, comprehensive education. We know the COVID-19 pandemic implications and how schools were locked down. Of course, the loss of education was such a great crisis, and we all worked on this. Of course, still research studies and surveys are still coming into play in order to better understand how this can help us to face the crisis of COVID-19 pandemic, and also the need, of course, to better understand the needs of the students is very important to re-examine this, of course, continuously in such a way that we don't have to make any kind of loss in education. So the regional center made a research study on the loss of education in the Arab countries. One of the most important results is a framework that is suggested about the methodologies in order to better understand the loss of education and recovery of loss of education based on the best practices and experiences that contribute to support the educational efforts for the achievement of SDG 4. As for the second track, it's lifelong skills and education in order to bridge the gap in terms of the loss of education in numeracy. We will finish almost the project of reading and writing skills in the Arab countries, because it is very important to enhance the quality of education, make it like more a practice. This project is a response by the center in order to enhance the skills of reading and writing in the early childhood stage in order to enhance, of course, the SDG 4 achievement of goals, and also provide a suggestive framework in order to enhance the quality of education and the reading and writing skills, which of course enhance the competitiveness of the outcomes of education in the Arab countries and the different standards context. Also, we work in close collaboration with Electro on a project, the standards of education, the standards of quality of education, the vocational and technical education based on the recommendations recommendations, of course, in the Arab countries based on the conference that was conducted in Algeria in December 2022 for this project to enhance, of course, education and the technical, the green education, innovation and creativity, which can contribute also to enhance future generation and future education. Of course, both projects enhance this. As for the third track, teachers and education, teachers are at the heart of education, and no one single education can do without that. Of course, in order to enhance this, of course, it is very important to enhance this and enhance the center itself has conducted different projects about the quality of education, of course, of teachers. I would like to gratitude for the great speeches made that we do really have such a great expertise, a great efforts in the Arab countries.
بالتجارب الناجحة الأصيلة في الدول العربية في مجال جودة المعلم وتيسير وتبادل.
And it is very important to focus on the quality of teachers and also to disseminate the learned lessons about the quality of education. As for track number 4, which is digital transformation of education, it is very important to focus on this because it is also very important to focus on quality and the quality of education for lifelong education for all. In order to achieve this, of course, the center is working on launching a digital platform in order to enhance the competence of teachers and enhance the education of teachers.
في مسار العمل الخامس تمويل التعليم من أجل زيادة الكفاءة والإنصاف وإعادة التفكير بتوجيه موارد التعليم
And it is very important also that the center is working on different projects, such as, for example, to study the future trends about expanding on education across the Arab countries in order to enhance, of course, to achieve better goals for SDG 4 across the Arab countries in order to achieve higher levels of outcomes based on different outcomes, as I said, that go in line with the development needs across the world. Ladies and gentlemen, the UNESCO Regional Center for Quality and Excellence is very important to participate in this because we all will understand the needs of the educational sectors and system across the world, which of course can enhance and contribute to the achievements of the DG4. Based on this occasion, I would like to express my appreciation and gratitude to our own wise leadership headed by the Custodian to Holy Mosque, King Salman bin Abdulaziz, and His Royal Highness Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, Prime Minister. May Allah protect them both in order to for their own unlimited and continued support regionally, globally, and locally. Equally important, I'd like to Prime Minister of Education, Head of the Board of Directors, Yusuf Al-Nayan, for the continued support for the vision of the center, and equally important, big thanks go to the Ministers of Education across the Arab countries. We hope always to meet up to have more progress, more development in terms of the indicators of the social SDG 4 across all the Arab countries and achieve the different 5 tracks. One thing, I have a question to pose, which is how can we make education or the quality of education as a fun entertainment rather than just a must, because quality of education is a real translation of the commitments, initiatives into a tangible reality. So the question is, do we have any problems relating to the translation of commitments into actions? Do we have, or can we make it like more fun, more entertainment? We make quality a practice rather than a must in our own education. Thank you, Mr. Your attention is highly appreciated. Big thanks go to you all. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I have a request from Dr. Ibrahim to start speaking. Dr. Ibrahim, please go ahead.
السلام عليكم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على
Dr. Ibrahim, please go ahead.
سيد الرئيس اخوات معالي الاخوه والاخوات الافاضل والكرام، السلام عليكم ورحمه
Dr.
الله
Ibrahim, we
وبركاته.
cannot hear you.
بس فكره خلينا بس نرتب
Hello. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most beneficent.
اسمحوا لي يا جماعه دقيقه بس.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished audience, peace, blessing be upon you all.
واضح تفضل.
معلش دقيقه واحده بس اعطوني. اصحاب المعالي والسعاده مديري المنظمات والرؤساء الوفود المشاركه، السلام عليكم ورحمه الله وبركاته. يسعدني من بدايه مداخلتي ان اتقدم باسم دوله قطر بخالص الشكر والتقدير والعرفان لاخي العزيز معالي الدكتور عبدالرحمن محمد العاصمي مدير عام مكتب التربيه العربي لدول الخليج.
Your Excellencies, distinguished audience, heads and representatives of organization entities participating in this festival, I would like to express my appreciation and gratitude by the name of Qatar, the state of Qatar, to His Excellency Dr. Abdulrahman Al-Asimi, head or Director General of ABIX, and his secretaries and assistants working in education, of course, taking it forward in order to cope up with the different revolutions in education. Big thanks go also to all the speakers, participants here in this big forum. We really enjoyed the time when they started speaking about different topics, different themes in the first part of this session. Also, I would like accept my appreciation and gratitude to His Excellency Dr. Buthaina, Minister of Education in the state of Qatar, wishing you always the best. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished audience, the model of education launched by the UN Secretary General, Mr. Antonio Guterres, at the opening summit, at the opening ceremony of the summit of transforming education, makes it more important for the welfare of the entire community, global community, and this is very important. But we have always to make it that we have to understand this, and we have to make it much dependent, of course, much independent across the Arab countries and the Arab countries and the world countries as well. The recommendations of the summit, of course, focused on the 5 tracks. I don't want to repeat them because we need to cut it short for time for other interventions yet to be made. It is very important to emphasize one more thing.
وما هو الدور الذي يمكن للمنظمات الإقليمية والدولية أن تقوم به
in these 5 tracks that have been presented and presented by other speakers, of course. The most important goal of this virtual webinar, what is the role of regional and global organizations that can play post-transforming education summit? In the Ministry of Education, we see that this depends, there are key points that we'd like to draw your attention to because we feel that they are very important. They need, such organizations need to play such a role in achieving good goals of education, integration of training and rehabilitation of teachers, including males and females, leaders, assistants, programmers, authors, designers, through different projects and workshops. It is very important to help the member countries in terms of digital revolution, in terms of state-of-the-art technologies for education, to adopt digital education. Number 3, establish digital platform and portals for education, including and inviting different entities, organizations, cooperating between these entities, organizations, and the member countries for the development of strategies to achieve the goals of education and contribute to avoiding any kind of duality across all the countries. Helping the member countries to develop programs and including different topics and themes in the school curriculum to enhance awareness about the world challenges such as climate change, biodiversity, human rights, equity and equality for labor, for education opportunities. Cooperation and coordination in the national committees and the civil society organizations and the private sector organizations, and helping them to support educational or financial supporting or financing education. It is very important to work for these organizations to work with each other. and also particularly in the society impacted by wars and the crises. Also enhancing school curricula and teaching methods and learnings in the member countries through integration of technology-based teaching methodologies and the digital skills, and also adopting IA strategy for education, also providing different education opportunities. 9, also supporting the member countries regionally and globally for the roles of women and youth and the students of special needs in their own societies globally and locally, also providing best practices and best lessons and strategies, of course, for the member countries to be included in their own national curricular and education system. It is very important to provide experience and expertise bank and data bank based on the needs. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished audience, we as our own in our role, of course, we look into ABEX, such a great partner, such a great arm, and also the regional center for excellence and quality, and the regional center for planning, and all the entities, organizations to play their own role efficiently and effectively, as we are used to seeing, in order to enhance educational professionals, of course, such as teachers, leaders, and also teaching them how to plan and how to digitalize education, along with other relevant themes and topics. It is very important to conduct research studies across the GCC countries levels, such as, for example, poverty education, technical education, and also the teaching methods, and also students who have dropped out of school and other issues. 3, it is very important also to benefit from the research study conducted across the world, and also to adapt such kind of research study for the national context. Thank you so much. Your attention is highly appreciated. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We'll be speaking more about this. Now I move ahead to Minister of Education in the United Arab Emirates, please. Dr. Hamad. Dr. Muhammad, please. Move ahead to Dr. Suha, Dr. Hamada, Minister of Education for the School Affairs. Dr. Suha, please.
الخاصة للمنظمات الدولية والإقليمية لما بعد قمة التحول والتعليم.
Hello everyone.
معالي
Can you hear me?
العام لمكتب التربية العربي لدول الخليج العربي.
Thank you very much.
الدكتور عبدالرحمن بن محمد.
Thank you so much
العاصمي.
for the great efforts, the regional and the global organization following transforming education summit. Big thanks go to the Junior Director of ABEX. For the ABEX, thanks go to His Excellency Dr. Abdulrahman Al-Asimi as well. Education per se represent the successful means to achieve all the SDG 4 objectives for 2030. And based on the interest of the Ministry of Education in the Kingdom of Bahrain to achieve the goals of SDG 4 2030, the Ministry of Education has made a great effort among the different education systems across the world, SDG, and integrating, of course, its own goals into the national goals and plans. And still we are continuing to include this, of course, in the international plans in the present and in the future, to also translate the SDG 4 into our own national goals to be achievable, to go in line also with the different tracks of education and the different operational plans with these managements, and to follow up the implementation of this, of course, based on all the sectors, which of course can contribute to achieve the different goals in Ministry of Education in order to achieve more and more. And identify the indicators the Kingdom of Bahrain has achieved different ranking positions, high ranking positions. We are very much ambitious to achieve more and more, to achieve higher positions, higher ranking. We also seek to seek that, or to make the data of Kingdom Bahrain to be reliable and can indicate and reflect and indicate the different indicators. The Kingdom of Bahrain achieved recently such a great progress and development, where a number of initiatives have been developed and have been established to collect data and analyze data, including, of course, to analyze data in order to achieve this, of course, and enhance, of course, this in order to attract more and more, and also achieve more and more, such as education platform, and also achieve the systems in terms of data collection, equally important. Ministry of Education, of course, has worked to cooperate and coordinate with the different entities to better benefit from the national initiative to better enhance data, Bahrain data link. The ministry also is working to develop more and more analysis operation and process through the study of different trends or logical trends to develop anticipation-based research study and develop reports, including the different recommendations for the decision makers for these future expectations in order to ensure the SDG 4 through the different actions and procedures, the ministerial one, in order to achieve more and more. With this in mind, this is very important also. In order to make more progress, of course, with identification of the recommendations and the challenges in such a way to be to enable the decision-making and policymakers to intervene and to provide the support needed on time. Also, these efforts have come to fruition for the Kingdom of Arabia to achieve higher ranking positions in comparison with other Arab countries. The Kingdom of Arabia has achieved the first ranking position across the Arab countries in terms of the reading and PELs, reading and writing and teams for mathematics and science for grade 4 and grade 8 in 2019. In terms of the professional development for teachers, most of the teachers have been trained and developed through, of course, being included or introduced in different onboarding training courses, which have been diversified, which of course were supporting based on the best training methods based on what is known as the needs that they really needed, of course, which in order to reflect this positively on the performance of teachers. And also this has come into play tangibly for teachers. As for the infrastructure was built, and so many schools and centers have been built with the new designs, innovative designs based on the international standards and based on the environmentally environmentally friendly standards and based on the best standards and design for facilities, including all the sectors, sports and other facilities, services, classrooms and other facilities for the staff and administrative employees, in addition to the elevators and lifts, while still providing different facilities for the special needs students, taking into consideration to enhancing the IT data and the digital enhancement. Also, we started working on the solar system solar power system that were installed on the roofs of the different buildings at the first stage. And we also wish to, in the Ministry of Education, to expand the project in such a way we need to include this into different system where all the school system will be powered by the solar power. In the Kingdom of Bahrain seeks always to translate its national commitments into viable actions to be implemented in reality, to be reflected on the quality of educational entities and enhancing the quality of education in the Kingdom of Bahrain that is well reflected on the needs, contributing to making the Kingdom of Bahrain at higher levels of ranking positions. Here, I would like to express my appreciation and gratitude to His Excellency Minister of Education in the Kingdom of Bahrain, His Excellency Dr. Muhammad Al-Mubarak, for the continued support in order to develop education in Bahrain and the great changes desired always. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for this invitation. Thank you so much for this great meeting. Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Muhammad Al-Mukbil, please go ahead. Peace, blessing be upon you. Can you hear me? Go ahead, please. Yes. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most beneficent. First of all, big thanks go to you for ABEX for making it possible for me for this great forum. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished audience, thank you so much. Big thanks also لما بعد القمة قمة تحويل التعليم وأظن هذه الاستجابة مهمة جدا. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, this forum is a rapid response to our post-transforming education summit, and this response is very important. And this is a close collaboration between the different entities and Ministry of Education across the GCC countries in order to support more and more, particularly and at the time of COVID-19 pandemic and what is following, of course, after the Transforming Education Summit, the roles entrusted to the Ministry of Education are clear-cut and are very important as well. أنا ودي أكد على بعض النقاط المهمة وخصوصا ما يسمى باستمرارية الأعمال وبحيث أن تكون العملية التعليمية مستمرة وتقدم بجودة عالية لأبنائنا وبناتنا الطلبة في أي وقت وفي أي ظرف. I would like to emphasize one thing. الحمد لله وزارة التعليم في المملكة العربية السعودية بدعم من حكومة خادم الحرمين الشريفين وبدعم مباشر من سمو سيدي ولي العهد. And this is of course to be provided at a high level of quality at any time. مرحلة من مراحل التعليم. Of course, the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Education in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, headed by the custodian of the Mosque, and directly supported by the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, to provide all the requirements for education in any stage, of course. And we have noticed also at the time of COVID-19 pandemic, Madrasati platform was established, of course, fully, where, of course, it can. Also, it is very important. Also, the live broadcast on TV was all made available, of course. Can you hear me? سمو ولي العهد الخاصة بالسعودية الخضراء وأيضا This is very important to provide more and more, to provide more alternatives in addition to other diverse platform. It is very important to refer to an initiative by His Royal Highness Crown Prince, which is Saudi Saudi Arabia initiative and the Green Middle East initiative, targeting 40 million trees in the GCC countries, in addition to 50 million trees in the Middle East, and will be the biggest one, of course, where our own children contribute and participate in. And of course, this will play such a great role and benefit more and more. I believe it is very important to review to have communication bridges with the entities, regional and global entities and organizations, so that we can be completing each other when it comes to realizing these trends, these orientations, these kind of ambitions in education. In addition, the commitment of the GCC countries to supporting education in the neighboring countries and the friendly countries that need support in education. And our role here is to enhance investments in education, to be holistic, to be comprehensive to all generations. We can come up with this webinar to come up with like a great recommendations, so that more cooperation, coordination can be between the different countries to achieve the desired goals. Big thanks go to you all again and again for the organizers of this forum. Thank you so much. Your attention is highly appreciated. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Abdullah Abu Saidi, Minister of Education in Oman. Dr. Abdullah, please. Dr. Abdul Salam, hello. Thank you so much. First of all, I would like to express my appreciation and gratitude to Dr. Abdalrahman Al-Asimi, General Director of Education of ABEX. Big thanks go to you, Dr. Abdul Salam, for the great organization of this forum. Also, Minister of Education, Dr. Madiha in Sultanate of Oman, expresses her own wishes and gratitude to you for the great efforts made to the development of education and the great, of course, efforts made here. As for these meetings, I would say also they are very important to share ideas and expertise relating to education. These are very important. Of course, for us, we do not suffer from any kind of challenges relating to equity and equality and provision of different resources, because we have met this. And it is very important, of course,
أتوقع أيضا إحنا محتاجين إلى رفع مستوى التحصيل الدراسي وأيضا تعزيز الدافعية لدى الطالب.
And Dr. Abdalrahman Al-Mudayris, of course, has talked about this. And it is very important to speak about the different experiences relating to the provision of the platforms. We do also need to enhance the education achievement or academic achievement of students. It is very important here to focus on this, but again, how to enhance and promote the motivation of students for academic achievement or better academic stuff. It is very important also to refer to certain issues such as like climate change. And these are very important issues that we have to take this into consideration, including Sultanate of Oman.
طبعا يتفاوت التعاون حسب طبعا مستوى المنظمه، لكن اتوقع ان احنا محتاجين الى كثير من الدراسات او الى بعض الدراسات والبحوث ذات الارتباط بتعزيز المنظومه التعليميه وحقيقة مكتب التربية
So
العربي وأيضا
this is very important. So this varies based on the different cooperation coordination. But I believe that what we need is that we need so many research studies in order to achieve this, of course. And in fact, ABICS and UNESCO Regional Center and other regional centers have played such a role. It is very important to enable teachers, to enable people working in education, to enable even decision makers and policy makers relating to the development of education, and this is done through the different projects. It is very important also to work how to deal with crises or adverse quality. COVID-19 pandemic is one of them, but also it is very important in Sultan Oman because of the climate change. You have heard of this different times in terms of the cyclones, typhoons, thunderstorms, or even rainstorm, where studies come to a standstill or come to an end. It is very important for organizations, entities can help us to address such kind of problems. It is very important also to focus on this. Different challenges have come into play and have been referred to by different speakers. It is very important also to talk about this. One more thing is I need to express my appreciation and gratitude to all the efforts made by the ABICS, great efforts, the great projects really have come into play. And always I am here being like the Deputy Minister of Education in Sultan of Oman. Of course, so many points have been referred to in this forum, referring to or relating to education. Big thanks go to you all, and we always highly appreciate your own great efforts. Thank you much. Your attention is highly appreciated. Dr. Absalam, thank you so much. We wish you always success. We are honored always to have you on board. Dr. Abdulrahman Al-Asimi, as a concluding speech, it is very important to have all the stakeholders be on board, including the UN organizations, UNESCO organizations, UNICEF organizations, and all the regional and the global organizations, including different topics, different themes. Also honored to have all the partners as stakeholders, and apologies for those who couldn't make it, like such as the Islamic Bank and also the King Salman Relief Center. Other representatives who couldn't make it, like Latin America, North Africa, and others, of course, who couldn't make it. We would be able always to make it as short as such. And also anything that will receive will always disseminate and make them all viable and actionable recommendations so that you all benefit from this. And with all, of course, the programs, project and project of support will always be shared with UNESCO in Paris, in Beirut, in Doha, in Regional Center of Excellence and Quality, and Educational Planning Center, and others. Of course, it is very important also to focus on this. Big thanks all to the actors. By and large,
معالي الدكتور عبدالرحمن العاصمي، أترك المجال لك لختام هذه الندوة وشكرا جزيلا لك. تفضل.
Based on what has been, of course, referred to by the UN, and based on the different trends globally, regionally, and locally by 2030. Your Excellency, Dr. Abdulrahman Al-Asimi, the floor is yours now to conclude the forum. Thank you. Please unmute. Your Excellency, unmute yourself, please. Unmute yourself, please. Your Excellency. Thank you very so much, Your Excellency. Big thanks go to you for all and for all the speakers, the Excellencies, heads of commissions, head of authorities, entities, authorities, organizations, ministries, for all the speakers who contributed well to this forum and their own response, their own engagement and participation. And I believe with the, of course, with the ABICS, I believe the ideas that have been put into action or that have put into speech and discussion give such a great relevance and importance for the great response or roles entrusted with the organizations and partners, of course, in order to develop education and to enhance the quality of education, education which is everyone's desired goes in line with 2030 vision, and also which goes in line with the future skills such as AI skills and other skills today. Education per se has or is entrusted with so many roles and responsibilities. We as entities and organizations do have to play such a great role, or great roles actually, in order to draw a roadmap in order to better understand and how to enhance education across all entities, across all countries. Truly, what has been referred to by Excellency, to crystallize and to translate these commitments into actions. I think that they are great efforts, great ideas, great visions, great suggestions, and putting this into action will be very important, need to be widely spread. And I believe that this is very important as well. I did benefit a lot, and I believe also that we have to continue to speak about these partnerships and this jointly collective action. And I would say that the ABEC's responsibility and roles is so big that it needs to cooperate and coordinate with all the regional, global, and local organization entities to contribute to enhancing the quality of education. Big thanks go to you all the participants, all the speakers. Big thanks to you, Excellency, for the great efforts made by you before this and after this, of course, and the moderation of this session. Big thanks go to you all. You always do great efforts. Big thanks on behalf of my colleagues and the participants. We wish to see you again and again. Big thanks to you all. Your attention is highly appreciated. Thank you very so much. We hope to always cooperate, coordinate, and meet